Brandon.
Hey friends, many of you have reached out to me lately to ask me if I had any updates on the Uvalde rampage killing. And of course, news keeps changing, coming out every single day. Of course, right now they're in the process of burying many of these poor kids and the two teachers that were shot in the process. And just a horrible, horrible scene, horrible process. But a lot of times and I know we play Monday morning quarterback, but a lot of times we look back on things like this and we say, what could we have done differently? And usually it's very minute things that we could have done differently to maybe change course a little bit. It's now beginning to appear that there's a lot of very simple things that could have done and a lot of decisions that could have been made that would have simplified the rescue of many more of these children and potentially the two teachers who were actually shielding their children from this rampage killer. One of the ones is that you'll remember at the very beginning, and I talked about this in one of my videos last week, that there were two funeral workers, or at least two people at the funeral home, I'm not sure if they were funeral workers, that the killer shot at once he wrecked his vehicle. Well, now it seems that one of those people, Mr. Cody Brysono, was actually stopped by the police from entering the school while the shootings were going on, and this man actually had a firearm with him. Mr. Brysono said he was working at a funeral home near the Uvalde school, and when he saw the shooting suspect, Salvador Ramos, crash his pickup truck in a nearby ditch and emerge from the vehicle with an evil look on his face, he told CNN News. We locked eyes and he gave me this vibe. I told him, "Are you okay?" Me thinking he was dazed out. Obviously, at this point, Mr. Brysono did not realize that he was looking into the eyes of a cold-blooded killer. Then he realized that, right? Brysono said the 18-year-old then turned and went into his vehicle where he retrieved a rifle. As the teen started to load the firearm, Brysono yelled at a coworker who had joined him outside to run. Both of them safely escaped the spray of gunfire that was fired at them, allowing Brysono to retrieve his own gun from his wife and charge after the shooter. That's when a police officer stopped him. Brysono went on to state that the officer asked him, "Hey, either what are you doing or where are you going?" Because this is obviously not worded right, but clearly the officer was asking him what his intentions were. He told the officer that he was going to stop the gunman and pointed out that the suspect was already inside the school. The police officer told him instead to stay back and to shut up. Guys, this is troubling to me. We're hearing story after story. We're hearing that the commander in charge now is not cooperating with the investigation. A lot of bad decisions that were made. We're hearing, okay, a door was propped open, then it wasn't propped open, then it was slammed to be shut, but it wasn't locked when it's slammed to be shut, then it was slammed shut and it was locked. This one lady here actually was able to get inside the school. She had two children inside that school. And when she went to tell the police officers, "Look, guys, you got to let me in." Well, look, I'm not going to tell you her story. Here's a little bit of her story. She was actually handcuffed for trying to go in and save her children.
To arrest me because I'm going in there, and I'm telling you right now, I don't see none of y'all in there. Y'all are standing with snipers and y'all are far away. If y'all don't go in there, I'm going in there. He immediately put me in cuffs. As soon as they uncuffed me, I jumped that first gate fence. And once I jumped it, I went to my son's class and I knocked on the door, and I remember the teacher saying, I'm like, "Hey, they're already bolt cutting the fence to get me." She's like, "You think we have time to get out?" I said, "Y'all have time. I'm going to run for my other son." So I start yelling and I'm being a cooperative, and I'm like, "Well, y'all aren't doing what are y'all doing? Y'all ain't doing Y'all need to be in here. Give me your vest. Somebody give me a vest. Something." I started paying attention to how far the shots were being, so that I knew the shooter was all the way still by my first son's class. So when I went to my second son's door, the teacher didn't want to open the door for me. So that's when they started escorting me out. And as I see that they're opening my son's door, I go run for my son and I get him.
While you were inside the school, did you see officers
There was not
inside
one
the school?
officer inside the school when I ran to my second son's class. There was not one officer.
And you were hearing gunshots, so you knew
You
that
could hear the
it was
gunshots.
an active shooter.
It was still active. The gunshots were still active. They were not in there. There was no one in there. If anything, when I pulled up, my car was closer to the school than where the snipers and everybody that was laying on the ground were.
So this woman's trying to go in and save her children, actually goes in to save her children, and still, admittedly, law enforcement didn't even follow her in. They were more worried about harassing her, according to her own words, than they were about the killer who was inside actively shooting. He was participating in a rampage killing live, and they were more concerned with the fact that she was going in there. Look, as a parent, you have to understand where this lady's emotions are. You cannot make her the focus of your energy at this point. I understand that you want her to be safe. I get that. I totally get all that, and I know why they didn't want her to go in. But whenever she's clearly going to go in, at least go help her at that point. She was solely responsible for rescuing 2 of her children. Guys, a lot of this stuff is not making sense that's coming out. I don't understand what law enforcement's approach was. Protocol has changed over the years, and now protocol is that you do not wait until you have backup. You go neutralize that threat, and that was not done in this case. And there's a lot of witnesses and a lot of parents that want a lot of questions answered at this point. I'm one of them.
Let's go, Brandon.